When you pay taxes, you might see it as giving some of your money to the government. However, more and more politicians see it as the government allowing you to keep some of its money, and everything you don't pay the IRS is considered a government expense. This line of thought played out last year when Congress debated the estate tax and the Bush tax cuts.
This legislation spends billions of dollars on the wealthiest 2% of Americans. And in these tough economic times, and with these current deficits, we should be spending money only on those policies that will create the most jobs.
This compromise will add about $900 billion to the national debt. That's more than TARP. That's more than the stimulus package. The 2-year cost of the bill is about the same as the 10-year cost of the health care reform bill. At least we paid for that.
The benefit to the heirs of the richest people in this country is unbelievable, unfathomable. And what that means, you shall have a continued concentration of wealth in a few select families, lords, so to speak, princes, that have monies beyond what anybody needs to have in this nation and not contribute to others.
But not everyone agrees with this philosophy.
We, meaning the government, can't afford this? Whose money is this after all? Is all the money that is made in America Washington's money, government's money? Or is it the people's money who earned it? I hear all this talk about the death tax, the estate tax. This is going to give a windfall to these people. All this money going to these privileged people who have built these businesses, made all this money. It's their money.
Congressman Paul Ryan recently sat down with the MacIver Institute to expound his concern.
The whole notion of what we call tax expenditures, or the idea that we, the government, can't afford not to raise these taxes or can't afford to reduce taxes, it's a philosophical premise that I think is very dangerous. It basically assumes that all the money that's made in America is the government's money unless they benevolently expend it back to people. And so we can't afford to spend money on tax cuts. Those phrases that you hear all the time from the left, from the president, is basically that this is our money. It's the government's money. And we really shouldn't spend it on these people. But in reality, all the money that's made in America comes from Americans. I mean, this is money that was produced and earned by individual people, by businesses, and they send it into the government through taxes. It's not money that it belongs to the government. It's money that belongs to the person who made it in the first place, who earned it in the first place. And so this whole entire philosophical notion that the government can't afford to spend money on letting people keep more of their own money is just an enormous fallacy that just represents a completely different worldview than what we have.
Although currently politicians mostly apply this government owns everything philosophy to the rich, remember, when the modern national income tax took effect in 1913, it only applied to the rich, less than 1% of the population. For the MacIver Institute, I'm Bill Osmolsky.